You online. The meeting is being recorded, so just wanted to let you know in case you weren't comfortable with that. So I'm going to go through some slides, and then at the end, we will have time for questions and discussion. And then if we have time, we can also have people stationed around the room and have some more conversations. So let's get started. Okay, so the first question, why does Palo Alto need a gym? And I use the term gym to describe traditionally what people think of a gym. So basketball courts, volleyball courts. We're not talking about a 24-hour fitness center. This would be a community recreation and wellness center. In some documents, like the Parks Master Plan, it's called a gym or a gymnasium. So just wanted to be clear about that. The city of Palo Alto does not own a single gym. We do rent gyms from the school district at Cubberley, but we do not own any. And the need for gym space is increasing for youth sports, for adults, seniors, and therapeutic recreation, which provides programming for people with disabilities. Because of that, our programs are limited. We meet demand, and the demand continues. So we just don't have enough indoor space to do all the recreation activities and sports that we'd like to do. Many of you probably know that neighboring cities have pretty modern, up-to-date gyms, that Palo Alto doesn't have anything equivalent to that. So this is sort of the agenda tonight for the presentation. We're going to talk about the project and partnership goals, steps to achieving those goals. Tonight is really focused on location. So we're going to give a couple of options on location to talk about, and then project next steps, and then, like I said, Q&A. So I'm going to now turn the presentation over to Ann Cribbs, and she's going to talk about the Friends of the Recreation and Wellness Center.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me back in the back? Yes, good. And thank you all so much for coming and being here tonight. I'm excited to see you all. This is a great turnout. And I wanted to say that, first of all, I am a very long time Palo Alto resident. 1966, I think I moved here. And I also have been a Park and Recreation Commissioner. This is the end of my third term. I have one more year to go, and then I will be retiring from the Park and Recreation Commission. I was on the commission when we did the master plan in 2017, which said to us, hey, you don't have enough gym space in Palo Alto. There's not enough indoor space in Palo Alto. So we started to talk about the fact that we needed a gym. And so about 2020, we put together a small group of people, twisted their arms and said, hey, would you like to be part of this? And we were able to form a friends group. So the Friends of the Palo Alto Recreation and Wellness Center. And if I had my way, I would put in AKA gym, so people would really know what we were talking about. At any rate, we did our Articles of Incorporation officially in August 30th, 2022, and we got our determination letter from the IRS. So we're a 501c3 company, which is our nonprofit, which makes us eligible to take donations from anybody who wants to support the gym, which is a great thing. We have a website, which is www.parwc.org, patterned after our good friend Roger Smith's Friends of the Parks in Palo Alto. He allowed us to share his web designer, and it's been absolutely great. So I hope you go to that. And we are absolutely shamelessly using the Friends of the Junior Museum as a model for what our endeavor will look like. I'm so happy to have several members of the Friends Board here, Roger Smith, and Bern Beecham over in the back, Yudi Deng right here, Yudi. And Bern and Yudi had a couple of words that they just wanted to say about their reason. So come on up here and join me here. And in the meantime, I want to introduce my fellow commissioners on the Park and Recreation Commission, Joy Ocha and Bing Wei. And I think that's all. And I should say that Councilmember Pat Burt is here as well. So thank you for being here. Bern, before you say something, I have to say that we have the best board ever, and I have been so grateful to these people who have come together to be part of this. They love sports, they're former mayors, they know how the city works, and in addition, they are passionate about doing something for our community, for our kids, and for the future. So, Bern.
Well, Ann, thank you. I don't really have anything to say tonight in particular. I'm here to listen to you. So that's my message. We want to hear what your thoughts are at the end of this, and thank you.
That is perfect. Thank you. Yudi?
Sure, thanks. And yeah, she recruited me. I moved to Palo Alto from Bellevue, Washington in 2018. I was on the Parks and Community Service Board for City of Bellevue for 2 years. And I'm so glad to join this Friends Board, and I'm looking forward to serve the community and hear from you.
Thank you guys very much. And so the rest of the Friends Board is former Mayor Tom DeBose, Steve Emsley, Nellis Freeman. Nellis is in the on the Zoom. So Nellis, thank you for joining us. Mark Goulet, Judy Kleinberg, Jeff Lemaire, Tim Snit, and me. So there we are, and back to you, Kristen. Thank you so much for letting us have time to do this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. So we're going to talk about our project partnership goals now. So like Ann mentioned, the Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan included a priority for constructing a new city gym in Palo Alto. To the reasons I described at the beginning of the presentation, just the city doesn't own any gyms. There's not enough indoor space to allow all the programming that will meet demand. So we are partnering with the Friends group who will help with fundraising and also just general community support. So how are we going to achieve these goals? This is sort of the steps in the process that we're going through. We are doing this partly because the City Council passed a motion in March of 2022 that asked us staff to work with the Parks and Rec Commission to conduct public outreach on a new gym, including location, what would go in the gym, funding, and what sorts of amenities would be there. So we're responding to that council action, and as a result, we have a partnership with the Friends, and right now we're at the point where we want to select a location. So we want to hear from the public, from the community on the different ideas for a location. We've already gone through some of those steps, but we'd like to hear from you on what you think of our proposals and the analysis that we did. So following the location selection, we'll go back to the City Council and get their approval and have a letter of intent with the Friends to start fundraising and get going on the project. So the location selection. I'm going to talk about 2 sites, Greer Park and Cubberley tonight. So we've already done an initial site review, and I'll talk about that. Friends have discussed it and reviewed, and now we're in the stage of community outreach. Okay, so our selection criteria, we started by looking at what we call regional parks in Palo Alto, and those are Greer Park, Mitchell Park, and Rinconada Park. And we looked at areas that would have a large enough space to construct a new wellness center or gym that had parking capacity and located on streets that would make it easily accessible for people to get there. And also the Recreation Wellness Center would need to blend in with the park and be compatible with the existing park uses. We also looked at not disturbing existing uses, so particularly playing fields. We didn't want to add something just to get rid of something else that also is in high demand. Of course, located on city land and provides opportunity to expand parking if needed, and also access to the gym. So using using those criteria and looking at Greer Park, Rinconada, and Mitchell, we believe that Greer Park, of those 3 regional parks, is the preferred location for these reasons here. And I'll go into a little bit more detail. So here's a picture of Greer Park. 101 is on the top. And once we got to Greer Park, we needed to decide, well, where in Greer Park would a wellness center be situated? So we looked at certain criteria. Again, no impact to existing sports fields, close location to parking and access, integrating it into the overall original design of the park, including where existing utilities are, and are there opportunities to address existing park needs? So, for example, is there a new playground needed? Would this be an opportunity to do that at the same time? And then utilizes open park space. So we looked at 4 locations within Greer Park. And these are also on those boards on the side of the room that we will have some time at the end where we can talk to folks if they're interested in hearing more. So Site A, just to get bearings, the purple rectangles are sites that we looked at to put I'm just going to call it a gym, even though the real name is Recreation and Wellness Center. So the purple triangles, there's 2 on the top, 1 on the bottom, and 1 over to the right. Those are the areas we looked at as to where a gym could go within Greer Park. The green rectangles are existing playing fields, and then the sort of diamond pie-shaped are the baseball fields. So Site A and B are the 2 in the upper left-hand corner. And when we went through the criteria, they didn't really meet a lot of the criteria. In fact, they only could tie into existing utilities. They would impact both soccer fields and baseball fields, and just didn't achieve what we were hoping to. So I'm going to skip Site C and go to Site D. So Site D is in the upper right-hand corner. This is an area that is dedicated to the Scott family in Palo Alto. While it wouldn't impact sports fields and it would be integrated into the overall layout of the park, we really didn't think it met some of the other criteria, and it also has significance to the community because it is in honor of a particular family. So then we go back to Site C, which is on the bottom middle, and I'll zoom in on that. So I'm going to toggle and then toggle back so you get the idea of where it is. So the purple rectangle's the new gym. If you look up, it's the Site C on the bottom. So Site C, in our opinion, through our analysis, meets all of these criteria because it doesn't impact sports fields. It does impact the existing outdoor basketball courts and a playground, but it provides an opportunity to convert that playground into an inclusive playground similar to Magical Bridge, and also allows us to upgrade the basketball courts. The proposal would add some parking spaces, so 42 to the existing parking lot, and then would reconfigure the parking spaces on the street so that they go head in, the car goes head in, and that would provide a 31 increase in parking spaces. I talked about adding a new inclusive playground. We would also have an opportunity to add a new group picnic area and also add some more native plants and, can we hold off till the end? Thanks, don't forget your comment. This is the site that we're focusing on for Greer Park. Here's a more zoomed in so you can see the wellness center on the bottom, the playground and basketball courts to the left, a new picnic area, and the expanded parking. Okay, now I'm shifting gears to Cubberley. So Cubberley Community Center, this is another location that we're considering. just to get your bearings, so the city only owns 8 acres of Cubberley. On the bottom is Middlefield. The city's property is the smaller rectangle on the right, and the school district owns the rest. So remember, before I said the school doesn't, or the city doesn't own any gyms, we actually lease those from the school district. We also lease the fields, the pavilion, which serves as a gym as well, and the theater. So just to provide sort of a current status on Cubberley and where we are in potentially moving ahead with something exciting at Cubberley. The school district board invited the city council to submit one or more proposals to acquire more land at Cubberley. So we're in the process, the council members and the board members are in the process of considering this and are working towards coming up with a proposal. So the opportunities for Cubberley are that the Wellness Center could be the first phase in future development, and it could inspire future progress. I know Anne gets frustrated that we've been talking about Cubberley for a long time. In fact, there's been several master planning efforts that have been going on since the 90s on Cubberley, the most recent in 2017, 2018. But we're just getting to a point where we can't advance any further. And this could be an opportunity to make that happen, to really inspire excitement and get people really rallied around developing Cubberley. We wouldn't lose park space, and it's very similar to the existing uses that are there now. And we could incorporate into the design as much parking as we needed. So just a quick snapshot. These are the current uses at Cubberley now. The colors don't mean anything, but you can see there's a lot going on at Cubberley. And these are the types of programs and services that could be at a future wellness center, but could also bring in more programs and organizations as well. I mentioned master planning. So this is the history of Cubberley master planning. It started in 1991. That master plan was amended in 96. There was a Cubberley Community Advisory Committee and then the Cubberley Concept Plan. And we haven't gotten to a point where we can actually develop the site yet. So I'm gonna move to project next steps now. So we're in the site selection community outreach process. We're doing outreach meetings. We'll also go to the Parks and Rec Commission and, like Ann said, follow the example of the Junior Museum and Zoo, which was a partnership with the Friends of the JMZ to raise funds and help construct the new zoo and museum. So once we feel comfortable and confident with the site selection, we will again go to the city council, start fundraising, and hopefully we will have a new beautiful wellness center after that. So that concludes my presentation. I'm sure you all have questions and comments. So we will do those in the room first, and then we'll do the one, if anyone has questions online, we can take those. So my colleague Amanda in the back is gonna pass around a microphone so that the people online can hear your questions.
Test, test, okay. And I know the gal here in the red sweater, you had your hand up, we'll start with you.
I was curious what the square footage of the proposed center is.
So we're not at the design level yet. What I think in our mind, it's similar to the Menlo Park, is it Burgess? Okay. That's what we're sort of, yeah. Thank you, Anne. Oh, sure. So she asked what the square footage was of the building, and Anne said 36,000 square feet, which is similar to the gym, one of the gyms in Menlo Park. Yeah. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Can you define what it means for that wellness center? What would be in that? Would it include a pool, or is it basketball courts, or what are we looking at?
I'd love to talk about it. I mean, in our mind, we have the size of 3 basketball courts that you could do basketball, you could do volleyball, you could do table tennis, ping pong, you could do indoor pickleball, you could do martial arts, you could do dance. It could be not just basketball, it would be able to be modified and changed. So for like volleyball, the curtains come down, you build it in, the curtains come down with the thing, and you can do all sorts of stuff in there. So that would be it. A couple of smaller rooms for maybe dance studio, classroom kind of things. And then we did envision an indoor pickleball courts just because they're getting to be so popular, and a couple of staff offices as well. But no pool, which might surprise you coming from me with my swimmer's background. But I think we have a lot of pools in Palo Alto if we use them wisely.
I just want to add one thing is I think it will be really important to design spaces that are flexible and adaptable so that as trends change, as needs change, even throughout the day, we can program as many different things as we can.
Hi, I'm Deborah Simon. I'm the chairperson for Friends of Cubberley. And hi, Ann, nice to see you again. Sorry to hear about the pool, because that's, of course, my favorite sporting activity as well. So I just want to say thank you all for your presentation, and Kristen, for your just continued efforts. I think that many of us are incredibly frustrated with the progress of Cubberley. I've been associated with the Palo Alto Chamber Orchestra for 46 years, and we've been in M2 that whole time. Everyone's looking at me. Yes, 46 years. And so our position in terms of the gym, right to this point, Friends of Cubberley has not made a statement about like what we want to have at Cubberley. Our mission statement has been to get it redeveloped, and that has been our focus. But we would love to engage with the idea of it being at Cubberley for all the reasons that you said, Kristen. I mean, the idea that it would lead towards progress, and of course Cubberley is wasted. It's not wasted space, but it needs to be redeveloped anyway, and so you wouldn't be losing anything. So we would fully support that, and happy to work with whoever to help move that forward.
I don't want to make you anxious. I would love to say something about Cubberley. First of all, I think our friends of the AKA gym really want to see indoor space in Palo Alto for our kids and our seniors and everybody, so that our kids aren't playing basketball at 10 o'clock at night when they're trying to do their homework. That would be a great thing. And we'd like to see it as soon as possible. Having said that, I was on the 1991 master plan at Cubberley, and I've been part of some of the reviews for Cubberley. I rent space at Cubberley for the senior games, and I have occasion to go over there, and it's a wonderful place, but it's falling down, and it needs to be fixed, and it needs to be fixed right away, not in 10 years or 20 years. And I worry that it's going to be like the Santa Clara Swim Club Center, which is just closed because it's in disarray with all their history and everything, and it's not working. So anyhow, I think that our friends group, and I can't speak for all of them, but I think most of them would agree with me that we would like to see a gym built someplace soon. Like to see the shovel in the ground as soon as we help raise the money to build the gym and get the permits and all of that. We're not really excited to wait until 10 years from now for another master plan. And if we can be a catalyst that can make Cubberley become what it should be in a community like this, then I think we'd be for that. Roger, what do you think? Byrne? Udi? Yeah. So. And Nellis, you're in the phone. Let's give you a microphone, Roger.
I've only been in town 60 years, and most of that time, Cubberley is an embarrassment. It is truly an embarrassment. The other day, I said to myself, yeah, it's owned by the city, and it's owned by the school board. And then I said, Roger, I own them both. And I don't think we think of that, but I am very serious about it. We own them both. We should make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy Cohen, and I'm also on Friends of Cubberley and also on the board of Friends of the Palo Alto Library. And we would love to see something happen, all of us, that would make Cubberley move forward. I asked, though, if the gym were at Cubberley, how would that fit in with planning for how the rest of Cubberley gets developed?
That is a really great question, Nancy, and something we've considered. Could we put in a gym and then design around it? Obviously, the more ideal situation would be to design it all at once. But like Anne said, that would be a whole nother master planning effort. So it is something that we've considered. I don't really have an answer as to exactly how we would do that, but I think we would rely on our future architect or engineer to help us plan that.
All I was going to say about that is we have such smart people here in Palo Alto and such great designers and such great planners and all of that, that I believe that we could use the gym as the way to kickstart or be a catalyst to the whole project, and then design around it or do what you have to do, but get it started. So.
And don't forget, there has been a plan that was from the 2017 that had space for a gym. Maybe a different kind of gym, but it was on the plan.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm Sonia Bradsky. I didn't introduce myself. I actually am next door neighbors with Cubberley now for 27 years. So I'm very interested in making Cubberley more functional. I guess I have two questions. There, as you said, there are tons of organizations that reside in Cubberley, and I guess they'll be displaced. I'm wondering what happens with those people, and then what you think your budget is for all this.
So for the first question, when we did the 2017 concept plan, they included a phasing plan. And so what we would do is likely move folks out into vacant space or help find alternate space while we're building one part of Cubberley, and then move people back in and just sort of do a rotation. So the consultant that helped us before had a really good phased plan that you can see in the concept plan document. And then the next question was, funding or cost. Do you have that, Anne?
I don't have a cost of what was the Cubberley master plan, but I do have a cost for this kind of plan that I talked about with the 3 gyms and that kind of thing. And so today's cost was about $33 million. I could. 33 to 36,000 square feet. And then parking would be additional. Okay?
Hi, my name is Kevin Kamak. I've been in the community for 20 years, so I guess that makes me a short timer here. And I understand and kind of respect the feelings people have towards Cubberley and the community, but I have to ask, as I was watching the presentation, what's the point of putting this at Cubberley? Because Cubberley is a public space now. It serves the public good. My kids went to preschool there. They do dance there, right? There's a lot of community use going on. And yeah, Cubberley might be getting dusty and crusty, but it's still used space that's well used and well loved. And it seems to me that creating a new space if you're going to create a gym, rather than displacing an active community from the Cubberley space, That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. You mean do an asset transfer within the city, which is going to cost a lot of money, but isn't going to really do anything, and then we're going to have an old space that we got to refurbish and deal with, and there's going to be a lot of politics around that. I just don't understand the logic of choosing Cubberley as even a potential site for this right now.
Sure. So that is a good question. Cubberley is, most of the buildings are getting to or are at the end of their useful life. So the city invests a significant amount in maintaining them and upkeep. Also, like I mentioned earlier, the city doesn't own a gym. Of the 3 gym spaces that are on the Cubberley property that are all owned by the school district, 2 are not in use and haven't been for several years due to a massive water leak under the floors. We're in the process of repairing that now, but it goes back to the my previous comment that do we keep investing in just keeping things standing instead of creating something that's new and will have a longer life.
So I agree with the last part of what you said, Kristen. I think that I live near Cubberley, and like you, the gentleman who just spoke, my kids attended preschool there. We took dance lessons, and my children took piano lessons there, and numerous other things. The gyms at Cubberley aren't just closed. They were closed over a year ago due to water intrusion. They haven't been usable for all that time. The city is responsible for the maintenance of Cubberley. This is a long-term neglect problem. The buildings there have not even been painted in the time that I have lived here, which is about a quarter of a century. That is an embarrassment. I mean, I just need to say that out loud. And I am also concerned that the proposed gym at Greer is about as close as you can get to North Palo Alto without crossing Oregon Expressway. South Palo Alto needs a gym, and the city has zoned this part of South Palo Alto for a lot of new housing, thousands of units. So I think we need to be responsive to that. I think we need to get a move on Cubberley. I think that all the citizens in this room need to start putting pressure on our school board to make a decision. And that is something that needs to happen now. And I also want to say that what I don't see in the plan for Greer, I hear you saying that there's going to be parking, but what you didn't say is how much space, how much parkland will be used to park cars. And I want to point out that Cubberley is a built site. It has potential to be rebuilt, reused, maybe part of it renovated. I don't know, I'm not the expert on this, but what I'd like to say is that I think that taking the Parks and Rec master plan did a beautiful job of showing that that part of Palo Alto, with the exception of Greer Park, really does have a shortage of park space. And what we're talking about tonight is using some of that precious park space to build something when we need something built on a built site already. We're just not, we're missing the big picture here, and I just needed to say that. Thank you.
You know, to me, part of this sounds like don't build it in North Palo Alto, as Penny puts it. Build it here not here quite, but at Cubberley. And who? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm Bern Beecham. I'm on the Friends of the Gym, and I've been on the City Council. I've been 8 years before that on the Planning Commission. I've been involved in nearly every process anybody's talked about for Cubberley. And also, I have worked in Palo Alto on building a number of facilities, including, as Allison knows, this building, this facility. I've worked on public-private partnerships, on the Junior Museum and Zoo, on Ronald McDonald House, on Avenidas. So I've been involved in building things as much as I can in Palo Alto for Palo Alto. As I look at what the Friends are talking about and what the city's talking about here, it's not an either or. It's not either build a gym in Greer or build a gym at Cubberley. Cubberley is going to happen on its own time frame. And, you know, We can ask the man here, I won't put him on the spot. What is that time frame going to be? Nobody knows. I hope it's soon. I hope it begins next year. But it's not an either or proposition. But I can say for myself on the Friends, as we did the Junior Museum and Zoo, that was done primarily with private money, not your taxes, not a bond measure. The city did kick in on parking and interface with the park up there and so on. But for my activity in trying to build a gym in Greer, which I think is the best place for it, for private money, that's the only place it'll go. If this process were somehow convoluted to say, oh, it's got to be at Cubberley because it's going to push their buttons more, it won't be with private money in that case, because you won't get people in the private sector to contribute to something that's in a scale of that nature. In addition, for Cubberley to be done, from what my experience, you've got to have an overall master plan, and that involves every person in the city weighing in on what goes there. You've got to, as someone asked, what happens to the groups who are already there? They're all involved. But mostly for that to happen, you've got to have a bond measure. And people in this room know a bond measure is hard to do, very hard to do. And so I don't see this as a them or us. I don't see it as North Palo Alto or South Palo Alto. If you divide the city, this is smack in the middle of the city. Greer Park is right in the middle, although on 101. It is. And so this is for the whole city. It's not going to affect Cubberley one way or the other. You know, if you kind of shout down this plan at Greer, I'm not going to come to the city and say, oh, then hurry up and do Cubberley. I'm not going to do that. Nobody's going to do that. There's no force that you gain by stopping something being done at Greer. So with that, I'll stop.
So let me give some updates on some things that I'm hearing a lot of people express their kind of what they're anticipating or fearing or all those things. So, hi Roger. Yeah. I'm Pat Burt on the council, and I'm on the Cubberley. Most importantly, I'm on the Cubberley Ad Hoc Committee. And so a few months ago, the council gave direction to the staff and the ad hoc committee to pursue a proposal or proposals to the school board on how we would obtain long-term control of Cubberley, at least in the areas that we're looking at for the buildings. And so we own 8 acres, and the buildings are on a total of about 15 acres. So we actually gave direction to the ad hoc and the council to look at 2 alternatives. One would be like a 50-year lease but that the district would have the option of taking back land if they needed for a school. The other was looking at a combination of purchasing up to 7 or 8 acres. That's the most that the district said they would consider for purchasing, and a long-term lease for the balance. We're right now in negotiation on that, but the city weeks ago made a concrete proposal to the ad hoc committee from the school board and the superintendent. They took it back. They just had a closed session on that a week or 2 ago, and we were scheduled to meet with them late this week, but it's going to be another week and a half before we meet with them. And this is moving forward very rapidly. The school board has also expressed that they are interested in having this resolved in the next few months. And so we have a partner who is very interested in coming up with what we've all wanted for a long time, is a long-term agreement on Cubberley that would give us the latitude to do the sorts of things that we are envisioning. So that's very likely to happen very quickly. That's what makes Cubberley a possibility for the gym location. But that's just the context of where we are right now.
Thank you for that. I just have two things to say to close, and it sounds like maybe we've got all the questions, almost all the questions. Oh, okay. Well, so let me say a couple things. When we think about the 8 acres that we have and the 7 acres that we might get from the school district, it's very exciting to think about what really we could do with that land at Cubberley, or what we really could do at Greer Park. I mean, this is really nice to look out and see all you really cool people in the audience who care a lot about this community and care a lot about sports and all of that. So I want to thank you all for that and for your ideas and all of that. I also want to say that when the San Francisco Giants built their ballpark, you know how many acres it's on? 13. So think what we could do with the 15 acres at Cubberley and who we could accommodate and all of that. So just a thought, it's always nice to have visions, and I've been talked about being an incurable optimist, but I'm also pretty frustrated about all of this, so I'm looking forward to getting going. I also want to thank Kristen and your team and the staff and Ed and the city for all of the work I know that you've done on this and for working with the Friends, so thank you for that.
Yeah, a few more questions.
I am Joe Hirsch, past president for 6 years of cardiac therapy. We have our current president here and our executive director. We have been at Cubberley since, I think, 2002 or 2003, when we came, 2002? When we came over with the JCC, but when they moved out, we have had a direct relationship with the city. My understanding is that for a city our size and location of its population, we are already short of parkland. Why cannibalize part of that parkland when we have 8 acres at Cubberley that can be developed? There's nothing holding us back. It's owned by the city. We don't have to parcel it up with 7 acres that we may get in the future or soon even from the school district. So in this regard, I agree with Penny. We need a facility here in South Palo Alto. We always seem in South Palo Alto to be trying to catch up when facilities are placed elsewhere in the city. And having a wellness center or gym over on, well, essentially West Bayshore Drive on 101 is not the best place. Being on Middlefield near San Antonio and Charleston is a much better location. Fastest growing demographic in Palo Alto and Santa Clara County are people 65 and older, myself and Dick included. We need a wellness center, which is something different than a gym. Our facility, our group, cardiac therapy, for many years had a fellow who worked for us. It was amazing. The hours of the day and night that he would come by to move our equipment in and out of Gym A. We don't have that anymore. We don't even have the facility to pay for that anymore. We have fixed equipment that we have to leave wherever it's used during the daytime, and we have 17 classes, something like that right now. We can't be moving equipment, heavy exercise equipment, in and out with manual labor. It just doesn't work anymore. We need a place, part of a maybe gym complex, but we need a separate space for our program, which serves over 225 people now, annually, and over the course of the lifetime of our program, a little bit more than 50 years, we have served thousands of people who suffer from cardiac disease and its related medical conditions. I'm disappointed that you did not also do as detailed an assessment of Cubberley as you did here for Greer Park. We need to have a gym if necessary, but definitely a wellness center and other facilities at Cubberley. It's the best location for it. Yes, things have to happen soon. The buildings are old, they should be torn down. But I'm convinced that the city, with its strength and capability and the reliance that it can have on the 2 studies that have already been done, and Allison was certainly part of one of them, a very instrumental part of one of them, could be relied upon for developing a plan for at least the 8 acres at Cubberley. Greer is not the best location, and once again, I say that I agree with Penny. We need a facility at Cubberley here in South Palo Alto.
Part of the problem with the Cubberley plan is that the last plan was derailed by the issue of housing at Cubberley, which most people in Palo Alto do not want any housing at Cubberley. Therefore, the plan was you should have a plan that eliminates housing at Cubberley because we have little enough parkland as is. Secondly, Cubberley is a place along a bus route. The Greer Park is not along a bus route. People have to bicycle there, or they cannot take the bus. There's no bus route nearby. Therefore, you should think about whether we can get there by public transit. You can't get there by public transit if there's no bus route, and there won't be a bus route. Even if we build thousands of housing units, there won't be a bus route. VTA will never build any more bus routes in Palo Alto again. So we should think about that. The other thing is that we have to think about what we do at Cubberley in terms of what facilities we need there. And definitely we need gyms there because their gyms there are not working properly because of flooding in the gym. But I don't know when that's going to be fixed. Thank you.
So I'm a long-term tenant at Cubberley. I have a children's education business. I have parents that move from Texas or the East Coast, and they go write a Yelp review saying, the program was amazing, the space was a dump. I can't do anything about the space. If you walk around Cubberley and you spy a red door, that's my business. I painted the door, and the city fined me for painting the door. That's how much they're tied to the old walls, I don't know. I paid a fine for painting my door. But what are the implications if you build this center in Greer and magically Cubberley moves forward? Because I've been part of the planning meetings. I've gone to several of them. They used to be held at Cubberley. And that plan had a swimming pool, all of what you're dreaming about. There was even talk about teacher housing. And unfortunately, with the pandemic, everything's come to a standstill. So what are the implications if that moves ahead? And by virtue of having just a wellness center that's a standalone entity in Greer Park, the city is too small to have a lot of wellness centers and gymnasiums. Overall, Palo Alto is a small city. So what are the implications if you build one over there and then this moves forward? Would they can all the plans of, it would be nice to have one cohesive, beautiful space. And so my vote would be to put this into Cubberley and leave Greer Park alone.
Thank you for that comment. I will say our Cubberley gyms are used from 6 a.m. till 10 p.m. or later, 7 days a week. And that's still not enough space for everything that is needed for the demand for people reaching out and saying, we'd like to rent some gym space. So if there was a gym in 2 locations in Palo Alto, I believe they would be used equally. There's just so much demand. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sean McGraw. I run a youth basketball organization, 4 City Basketball, formerly Palo Alto NJB. Been involved with the group for almost 20 years now. I'm agnostic about whether it's at Cubberley or Greer or, wherever, middle of 101. We just need a gym today. And the slight counter to your comment, if we had 2 gyms, I guarantee you 2 gyms would be used. If we could build 4 gyms, well, at some point, yeah, maybe it would be. But if we could have a gym at Cubberley tomorrow, I'm 100% for that. If we could have a Cubberley, or have a gym at Greer tomorrow, I would love that. So to me, and as a user of the gyms, and my program is constrained currently by gym space. We are using, late night at middle schools and are able to get some weekend gym time at the high schools. But even that's really hard. We're constrained by that. So if the option is a gym at Greer in 3 years or a gym at Cubberley in 10 years, 100% for Greer in 3 years. If it's going to be Cubberley in 3 years, I would love that as well. But I don't think having one at Greer sooner prevents us from developing and building a gym at Cubberley. So.
Thanks. I think it rains too little here, so we don't have enough indoor gym space. So I'm probably the only Asian face on the Friends board, but there is a large percentage of Asian parents in the Palo Alto community, and we had a debate. So a group of JOS Asian parents, they would prefer Cubberley because it's closer, and it has all the schools and the libraries around. And I also know a group of soccer parents, their kids who practice at the Greer Park, and they would prefer the location close to the 101 highway. So I think based on our neighborhood, we will have preference, over different locations. But to be very practical, we just need this indoor space sooner than later. And as we will start fundraising soon, I think we also need to weigh in the donors' opinions. So if, dear community members, if you know anyone who can write big checks, send them our way. We'll do another survey. So that's my opinion. Thanks.
Hey, Sean, thanks for coming. Allison Cormack, nice to see so many people here. I want to thank staff for having criteria and walking us through that. That was really helpful, and I didn't realize those had been established. Thanks for that. So people haven't talked very much about the JMZ model, but Kristen had it up there. One of the things that happened is the Friends of the Junior Museum and Zoo managed that construction, not the city. It was as if it was handed over and handed back. So that's a very big leap of faith on the part of both partners. So people should just, be cognizant of that. I will also say in both this instance and also at the Roth Museum, which is a similar issue, the operations costs are much higher for the JMZ than were planned in terms of working with the Friends, and the construction costs at the Roth Museum have been much higher than were anticipated. So while I'm always excited to have a public-private partnership, I'm confident that the staff will have learned from these past experiences and will be careful because that's something that the city will be responsible for operating. So I just wanted to put that on people's radar. If there's a private organization that can raise $33 million, we should all be interested in what they can do. The final thing I want to say is, and appreciate the prior speaker who was talking about the experience of the people who are going to use this. So to the extent that you have a family who's going to come to the Wellness Center for a practice or what have you, there are probably other members of the family as well. And ideally, there would be other things for them to do. So, from a not wearing my former council member hat, not wearing my Friends of Cubberley advisory hat, from a usage standpoint, I think having a gym at Cubberley will be a great experience for the families of the people who come to Cubberley. But the question that I had earlier has really been answered, which is, would it make sense? Could we have both? And the answer is yes. Of course, that always comes with a big price tag. So I do want to just emphasize, what Councilmember Burt was saying earlier. I feel for the first time, and I've lived here, how old is my daughter? I have to think, 26, 27 years. For the first time, I feel that there is momentum. And so it's possible that these two not entirely aligned efforts can connect and that this can inspire progress. Just really appreciate staff and everybody being here and the friends who are stepping forward. It's never easy to do that, and had lots of negative comments already tonight, unfortunately, so good to see you.
Thanks. And I know Penny, I think, had her hand up.
Thanks, Allison, for your great comments. I mean, I think that I want to say, first of all, thank you to the Friends of the Recreation and Wellness Center for stepping forward. I think it's a big deal. And if you really can raise $33 million, fantastic. I am concerned to my friends of Cubberley Friends, what happens to the political coalition of support that you need to get that big thing built if the gym users aren't part of that coalition anymore, because they're a big part of that group. So I think this is partly about politics. I like the idea of using a gym to inspire and bring people to the idea that Cubberley could go somewhere. I think we need to, everybody in this room who cares about having a gym in South Palo Alto or anywhere in Palo Alto should be going to our school board, the next school board meeting, and say so. They're not going to do this unless they hear from the public. I mean, this is how it works. We have to do our advocacy work, and nobody's there. Nobody's talking to them. I know this because I listen. So please do. If you really, really want to see, movement on Cubberley, the school district is who we need to talk to now.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask Kayla, do we have anyone online who'd like to comment or speak? Okay. Yep. And then we'll have additional time. We'll stand over, and if we want one-on-one conversations, we can do that too.
We've been talking about a gym and a wellness center as if almost they're the same thing. They are not. 2015, Avenidas approached cardiac therapy to join with them and a consortium that we put together to talk to City Council and the school district about a wellness center at Cubberley. The 6 components or organizations involved with the idea of a wellness center were, of course, cardiac therapy and Avenidas. It was also REACH, which is the Stroke Rehabilitation Association that I think is still at the Cubberley campus. There were 2 dance studios, Abilities United, though I think that has changed names by now, and the Palo Alto Stroke Association, I think, if I have the...
PSA, Peninsula Stroke.
Peninsula Stroke, thank you, Robin, that was going to have an office there. But this is a decidedly different type of organization, although it could be ancillary to a gym, which would be more of what the gentleman talking about basketball courts, volleyball courts would be, which is not consistent with the type of cardiac rehab program that we have had at Cubberley for over 20 years.
Thank you. So, did you have a... Yes, please. Sure.
So I just want to share, a lot of us here have had frustration over the years with feeling at Cubberley we didn't have a real partner in the district to have the outcomes we were looking for. And therefore we were constrained to whatever, either the Concordia project that looked at a full collaboration, but they couldn't participate in that. We only had the 8 acres. That is not the circumstance we have right now. We twice in the last 2 years got written letters from the district saying, make us a proposal. It took us as a city too long to do that. But we've got that going on right now, back and forth in negotiation. This board wants, the school board wants to have this outcome. They don't need to be berated. They can be thanked, but there's a ton of momentum right now. It's going back and forth right now in closed session meetings on both bodies. This is real negotiation happening that I expect is, in all likelihood, going to be consummated in very short order. We have two parties who really want to get this done, and it's happening. So thank the school board, but they took initiative on this, unlike past boards and the history that we've all gone through. But I want to correct the record on that.
Thank you, Councilmember Burt. So one more. Oh, question for Pat.
Councilmember Pat Burt, I have a question for you. So I was really intrigued by what was said about the funding and whether we take a part of the coalition and it funds private funding, and somebody else earlier said that private funding would be easier at Greer, but it would probably need to be a bond at Cubberley. Is there any insight you can give us who are not in the political realm about that?
You know, that's more a question for Ann and her group. My understanding is that there, just like for many of us in this room, there's been a lot of skepticism that we'd ever have the ability to actually move on doing things at Cubberley on our own land. And I should have mentioned too that, like the Concordia project, whatever is going to get built and rebuilding those buildings is going to go up. So actually that'll clear and free up more land than we have available right now with the one-story buildings. But my understanding is that they want a site, if they're going to do private fundraising, they need the city to be able to let them move forward and not drag this out for years. And so if Cubberley was going to get dragged out, then it's not a viable option. If it becomes available in short order, and the city, as Kristen said, the council made a commitment to design around the location of a gym, the future balance, with maybe certain concepts, but not the detailed design, then my understanding is that meets the objectives of the Friends of the Wellness Center, which is to be able to move forward with clarity. They have a site, and there's not delays. Well, I can't answer that, but the Friends group is looking at the feasibility of the fundraising. And so I think we should simply be very appreciative that, like at the Junior Museum, we have this potential of a great community asset to come about principally through private donations. If that happens, that's a great thing.
All right, thank you everyone so much for being here. We really appreciate that you're spending your Wednesday night here with us. We will stick around for more questions or conversation. And if you've signed in and left your email, you'll be on our future email list. So as other meetings and council meetings or Parks and Recreation Commission meetings come up, we will let you know. We're also creating a web page within the city's site that will be devoted just to this project. So we'll be able to keep you updated that way as well.
I just wanted to say thank you all very much again for coming. As I said before, we have this great small Friends board that meets once a month at the Chamber of Commerce, and our meetings are open. In addition, we have an advisory council, and if any of you all would like to have me send you a letter of invitation to join us, I would love to have you. There's a lot of smart people in this room, and you guys have a lot of really good ideas. I also want to introduce a fellow Olympian of mine, Bev Brockaway, who's right here, who is on our Athletes Advisory Council. We have so many really good athletes from Palo Alto that we are going to have a really fun Athletes Advisory Council as well. So this is going to be a fun project, and thank you all very much for your thoughts.